microphone, and you can tell us this in the show.
Anyway, there are at least three different theories on
Hmm.
how it got to be the name of restaurant. Small restaurants that sell simple fare for moderate prices in France,
I see.
and that meaning has drifted back into Russia. So Russia, in Russia, they also call small restaurants that sell simple food for moderate prices bistros.
I get you. Yeah, okay. Hello. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tom's Guitar Show. I'm called Guitar Tom because I'm often seen with the guitar, and they call me on this show. They say, hey, man, what's your show about anyway? I say, oh, it's about an hour. About guitars, guitar playing, all things guitaristic. So if you want to call the show and ask a question about the care and feeding of your guitar, how to play the guitar, what kind of guitar is right for you, some related topic, like the guitarron, lutes, ouds, vihuelas, citerns, sitars, chitoles, banjos, balalaikas, bazookies, bajos sextos, ukuleles, banjolales, banjolins, C or B flat clarinets. We'll talk about pipe organs or piccolos. Trumpets, trombones or trombomarinas, cornets, cornholts, cornetos, crumhorns, clarinets and clavinets, harmoniums and harpsichords, harmonicas. Vibraphones, sousaphones, euphoniums, box trumpets, and piccolos. I said it already. Recorders, blockflöte. Politics, world events, or your own personality problems. But just keep it clean, because this is a family program. Huh.
If someone were out and about
Uh-huh.
Tuesday the 29th,
Oh, yeah.
wanted to see this show being made,
Oh, yeah.
what would they do?
Well, you know what they should do? Is if they want to see this show on the 29th of October, which is a Tuesday, of course, at 6, they should go to Uptown Bill's Coffee House, which is right above us right now.
At the corner of South Dubuque and Lafayette?
Corner of South Dubuque and Lafayette. South Dubuque down by the tracks, you know, not too far south from downtown.
Block south of the tracks?
Yeah, or a block, a little bit north of the tracks. There's a lot of tracks around this area.
Yeah, that's right. There's tracks on both sides.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I have a TV studio and a recording studio. Like, yeah, right between the tracks. Yeah, between the tracks studio is one person used to call it. But anyway, Yeah, we're good. Uptown Bill's Coffee House, right there on South Dubuque, easy to find. You know where that big hotel is down there, the Sheraton, I believe it's called. Which they built right in the middle of Dubuque Street. See, when I was a boy, you could go through Dubuque Street, but then they built the Ped Mall in there.
All in those days?
Yeah, before the Ped Mall, a long time ago, back in the olden days, and then they built a hotel in the middle of Dubuque Street. So if they ever want to open it up again, they'll tear down the hotel, or else put a big tunnel through it, which would be kind of cool, actually. But anyway,
An overpass.
yeah, was it like 6 stories tall or something? But anyway, yeah. So Uptown Bill is easy to find. Just go to Dubuque Street. Start at the hotel and head south about 4 blocks, because I guess the Iowa Avenue is a 0 block. Iowa Avenue goes to Washington Street, goes to College Street, goes to Burlington. Yeah, so about 4 blocks. There it is, Uptown Bill's. We'll be there.
Or you get your license plates or go to the county office building. We're about a block north of that.
Yeah, it's not hard to find PATV or Uptown Bill's. And if you can find Uptown Bill's, you can find PATV and vice versa. But anyway, so yeah, next week, and I guess we're gonna have to have some costumes and things, and maybe a couple of, I don't know,
Big Halloween show.
It'll be the Halloween show. Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do. I've got to come up with a costume, I guess. Maybe Mr. Skopinski like to. I was thinking I could get a monk's habit. I think you should probably get a monk's habit. You'd be more.
I'm already in a monk's habit.
Yeah.
Daily meditation and everything.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of focused on technical stuff.
Okay.
I didn't catch what you were talking about.
Oh, we're talking about the Halloween show next week.
Big live production on location.
Upstairs next week, Uptown Bill's.
My character is going to be totally frightening. It's going to scare everybody out of the place. I'm coming as Jim Skopinski.
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah. You don't have to be, scary. I mean, you can dress as whatever you want. Little kids dress as superheroes or stuff, and we all know what the young women dress like. It's a big excuse for them to, wear as little as possible.
Show a lot of skin.
Skin, yeah. And I always feel sorry for them if they're out there running around partying, because they must be cold,
Yeah, like 35 degrees out today.
Yeah.
Big old snowflakes coming down for a while.
Big snowflake legs. Yeah, when I was driving up to Cole College, there were big flakes coming out of the sky. It was right up there by Twin City turnoff, Swisher and Shueyville. Yeah. I got that from you, man. I like that.
I got that from the local accordion band.
Oh, I see. Okay. Sounds about right. Twin Cities, Swisher. Anyway, I happen to know, but with the YouTube stats, that people actually watch this show in Turkey, in places like, so if they get on the, like when it goes on to YouTube, they'll have no idea. I mean, other people have no idea. People in Coralville have no idea. Some of them. Anyway, yeah, we should do I'm expecting you to come up with something. I don't know if you have to come up with a costume, but I mean,
I'll find something to read.
yeah, find something to read at least. I got to come up with some sort of costume. I think Donna's going to be doing something. I think Lee's going to be doing something.
Will you be reading, Mr. Skopinski? I'll come prepared. Maybe the Headless Horseman.
This was exactly what was going through my head when he asked if you were going to read. I thought you could read the Headless Horseman.
I'll do that. That'll be my. I will come with my head, though. I'm not going to try to remove my head for a costume.
You could get a spare head and put it under your arm like that or something like that. After all, 2 heads are better than 1.
Yes, yeah. There's a, I did a documentary years back about Palki, the pioneer silent movie maker in India, and he got into a lot of special effects because, a lot of his stuff dealt with the Indian mythology, which is all sorts of cosmic effects and stuff.
Mhm.
And he had this one guy, was subjected, I think, to an act of magic or something, but his head lifted off of his shoulder and then came back down, and he's all frightening while it's happening. And we, with our old camera mixers we used to have, you could do something very close to that. I
Yeah.
wanted to do that, but I don't know
Yeah.
if I'd be able to pull it off.
Well, in the old days, there's a joystick to it. I mean, Elena, who used to be the beloved intern here many years ago now, she did that to she'd always mess with my head. Whenever she'd take my head off and move it around a little bit. Or she'd take another camera angle, have my head on kind of sideways or something like that and stuff
I
like
came
that.
in one night without my body.
That's right. I ain't got no body. Yeah. I should be doing that now. I know we have a...
It's too bad we won't have a green screen up there. We could do
Yeah,
it.
that's true.
But yeah, I'll definitely, because I've been thinking about that. So great minds think alike. So that's what I'll come prepared for next.
If you careful. I keep saying the wrong things backwards and things like that. I'm getting kind of weird, you know. I can still play pretty much, but well, this weekend I got 4 gigs lined up. I mean, there really isn't like a weekend for me. I mean, it doesn't really end. I guess technically it ends on Sunday night or something, but it sure makes me tired just thinking about it. But I will be playing at the Mendoza Wine Bar in beautiful downtown Coralville on Thursday, 7-ish or so. I'll be there by 7, I suppose, and I play till 9 or later. I always end up playing later, and it was kind of really slow last time. I played with Walter, the boss there, the owner. He's and his name may be Walter, but he's from Argentina, so he knows like tango music, and bossa nova. I mean, Brazil's not very far. It's so we jammed quite a bit last week. It was kind of interesting, actually. But yeah, he'll be there, and I'll be there. Mendoza Wine Bar. Well, it's in Coralville on 5th Street, right across from West Music, if you know your Coralville, but not too far from the police station and the fire station. It's the building that houses the Performing Arts Center of Coralville. And if you can't find that in Coralville, then I don't know where you are, man, because it's right there on 5th Street. You can go down the Coralville Strip, you get off on 12th Street, then you find yourself on 5th Street, and there it is, right there. Right across from West Music, which I would know where that is, of course, because you know how I am about guitar shops. But yeah, they built a Performing Arts Center there in the middle of downtown, and the back door of the Mendoza opens into the lobby of the Performing Arts Center, and the front door is like a strip mall thing on the street. There are a number of other businesses there, so it's the Mendoza Wine Bar. You can have fancy wine from Argentina and small plates of things. They're baked honeyed brie is something very popular, apparently. But I don't really do much there except play the guitar, personally, so I don't enjoy well, I have those pizzas. He makes these special little pizzas they have. They're quite good. They're very different. They're not your usual pizza. So anyway, so that's where I'll be on Thursday. Friday, Saturday, I'll be at Tuscan Moon in beautiful downtown Kelowna, Iowa, only about 20 miles or so south of Iowa City, in the Amish country down there. Place is full of Amish and Mennonites. The restaurant itself isn't full of Amish, but there are Mennonite waitresses. Pretty hip ones. They don't wear bonnets or anything. Anyway, and then so I'll be there Friday, Saturday night. I'm supposed to start at 6, so I'll probably start about by 6:30, maybe a little bit later. Because I'm getting a little later still. But if you want to hear me, make a reservation for 7. But so that's then Friday, Saturday night, and then I'm playing at this Journey Church place up there in Coralville on the corridor on 965 off Oakdale Boulevard. So you go up to 965 toward North Liberty or Cedar Rapids, depending on how far. Yeah. By the prison there, but about a block shy there. But Oakdale Boulevard, take a left, and it's right there, Journey Church, and it's a pretty hip place. A couple weeks ago, we blessed the dogs. It's a pet blessing thing, and I play music for them. And I can wear my hat, so I can wear my hat, and I can have my own theology or lack thereof or whatever, and nobody seems to mind. So I think I should dress like the Pope. He had a big hat. Yeah. Is there something missing there?
Well, we're just not getting any sound on Bob's mic.
Oh boy.
So, hello.
This other cable here, right here, isn't plugged in anything. Maybe you plug them into that instead. That's number 3, I think.
That's 3?
I think so. Yeah, it looks like it. We're gonna plug them in there. So anyway, that's my itinerary. I'm gonna put this cape on and see what happens with this. I don't think I've done this.
Can you hear me now? Hello, I'm on mic 3 now.
He's on number
Can you
3
hear me now? Okay.
Ah. Bad cable. This guitar is a DBZ Cavallo. Cavallo. Cavallo.
That's horse, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I guess so. Caballo, yeah, yeah, it is. But it's a DBZ. Dean Zielinski of Dean Guitars sold his company. So Dean Zielinski. I suppose you had a name like Zielinski. You should be proud of it. It'd be like a name like Skopinski, wouldn't it? It's not. Anyway, but no, Dean sold his company, and then he opened another company called DBZ. It's a smaller company. I have a couple of Dean guitars. They're kind of interesting. Have a little interesting history. I think he started building guitars when he was 16. He started a guitar company, and they're kind of wild-shaped heavy metal guitars and stuff. But
yeah, I always expect you to play rock and roll on that one.
yeah, well, you know, I can always go. That's kind of like that's old. I mean,
That's old
like,
school rock and roll.
I mean, I can do something. I can do this. So push this button here, see, and I turn the gain all the way up here and the volume down so I don't blow the. I go,
70s acid rock.
basically, yeah. I do it. I like.
Thinking of acid rock, we went and saw Kenny Rogers' show last winter. He still does. Just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in.
Oh, really, huh? Well, he was a hippie back in the old days.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. He's been,
started out being a New Christie minstrel,
yeah,
then went with the first edition.
yeah. That's right. And then he'd be,
And lost some money on his last tour. He figured he better go solo.
yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, he said he managed the last first edition tour,
Oh, I see.
and
Yeah.
he thought he had a good tour, drew good crowds. But when they did the accounting at the end of the tour, I forget how much money it was, but he lost a lot of money on it.
Yeah, well, that's the economy of this thing is kind of funny, actually, if you think about it. But I mean, I'm low rent, you know.
Yeah.
But I have low overhead. See, so it works pretty well. Except that I keep buying instruments. But anyway, yeah. I mean, you can lose a lot of money in the music business. I knew a guy who was touring with the Van Zandt, one of the Van Zandt brothers of Leonard Skinner fame, I believe, and he was on the bus and he thought he had got a big break in show business. And at the end of the tour, he owed a lot of money because they were charged for all kinds of things and this and that, charged for this and that, the other thing, and they had a bar tab here and room and board there, and then they, in the end, he ended up having a big credit card debt, and that was his. He had. I think,
Chuck Berry tours by himself and hires a backup band out of the local Union Hall wherever he goes because everybody knows his music.
Right. Well, I guess he plays the game to win, so.
At 80 years old, still doing it.
Yeah, well, that's what I hear. I hear he's not that easy to get along with all the time, but.
Well, Keith Richards, the guy that said couldn't warm up to him if they were cremated together.
I see. Well, I think Chuck Berry didn't think much of
Keith Richards.
Keith Richards, yeah. I can understand, but I was reading actually a rather detailed history of Elvis Presley, and speaking of like Chuck Berry, I mean, he grew up with a lot of white people around him, I think, but Elvis, he had this. He was born in a little shotgun house his father built. His father was, 4 or 5 years younger than his mother and lacked ambition, and they were on welfare and so forth. And his mother was very domineering. The father was very submissive, but they end up like on welfare, living in projects and so forth, and in Memphis. And he lived in a predominantly black neighborhood growing up. He was always kind of a weird kid and everything like that. And so, when they were looking for somebody to Sun Records, looking for somebody who could, bridge the
Looking
rage.
for a white guy who could sing black.
Yeah, yeah. And Elvis, he was doing a whole bunch of recording, and it wasn't what they wanted. And then he started, doing Hound Dog or something, or really, or some song he was famous for. And the bass player started like jumping around and slapping his bass and everything like that. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Just fooling around." I said, "Well, do some more of that." And they recorded it, and then the rest is history. He became incredibly popular, but there was a lot of apartheid and racial prejudice at the time, so and he was a good-looking kid too. So
Well, after Colonel Tom got his teeth fixed,
oh yeah, really, I didn't know he had problems with his teeth. What was wrong with his teeth? There,
rotten, I guess.
rotten. Okay, yeah,
Didn't look good, so Colonel Tom had them all fixed up.
yeah. Well, that would help. But I think the thing is that the people who really made it, in the popular music of that time were either, there were black people who had a lot of access to white people, or white people had a lot of access to black people. And it's that melding that made...
Or like Pat Boone used to do a cover on Little Richard songs, and the white stations would play the Pat Boone version.
Oh, yeah, there's that too, yeah. Saturday Night Live had a skit about that a long time ago with Ray Charles. And they said the group was called the Young Caucasians. You see, and they was, of course, the cast of Saturday Night Live singing a really, wearing their leather sweaters and stuff and doing a version of it. And then they,
Well, Pat Boone's versions didn't sound at all like Little Richard's, but
yeah.
Ricky Nelson doing Fats Domino's stuff.
Right.
Of course, Fats Domino owned his stuff.
Yeah, he's smart.
He said for first time he heard Ricky Nelson doing one of his songs on the radio, one of his band members said, "That white boy stole your song." And he said, but then when the royalty check come in, he said, "I hope that white boy steals all my songs."
That's right.
Chuck Berry was another one. He owned his stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's
Little
important.
Richard got nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a problem for a lot of people. They got taken. They had to own the publishing rights to their music, and that was a big problem. I know a guy whose brother or somebody grew up with whatever is trying to get some of these old timers their money, money for their stuff that got ripped off with old blues and rock musicians from back in the day, mostly black, I suppose. But I mean, that's how it was done. And I was reading this thing all about
Motown. You know, the songwriters were all on salary, and Berry Gordy owned everything.
Yeah, right. So I guess he made a lot of money, huh? Well, it's funny how that works. Of course, everything's different now. I mean, the whole independent music thing is standard now, and everything is all different. But there was a songwriting workshop that years ago when I had a little guitar shop. The guy sort of rented my back room, and I don't know if I even got any money out of him, but he taught these songwriting workshops because he had written some songs and some jingles and stuff. And, some guy from Fairfield, but he lived in Southern California for a long time. And he was talking about how it's important to get make sure you get the publishing rights. Start your own publishing company, which isn't very easy to do, and just basically a letterhead.
Right.
And to make sure you own all your publishing rights. Of course, people are probably less likely to exploit your songs, like some star, but it happens. There were people who.
Well, the Colonel used to make the copyright owner sign over half the rights to Elvis for anything he recorded.
Yeah. Which could, in some cases, could be very lucrative because you could write a beautiful song and it would go nowhere.
Well, Eddie Rabbitt did, I think it's Cold Kentucky Rain, and sold over a dozen copies, and signed over half of it to Elvis. What was left over after the Colonel and Elvis got their cut was a lot better than Eddie Rabbitt was doing on his own recording.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Well, that's how it's done, I suppose. I mean, and Dolly Parton was.
Oh, yeah. I Will Always Love You, the one that Whitney Houston had the big hit on. Elvis was going to do that, and the Colonel wanted her to sign over half of it. She said no, and then she said she made enough off the Whitney Houston recording she could have bought Graceland.
Yeah, well. I saw that movie, The Bodyguard, which is where that song was in. That was the final, emotional finale. I went with my nieces, who are now grown and have children and everything. They're married and have kids and everything. But I took my nieces to it, and it was like they wanted to see it. They were, and it wasn't exactly the movie that I would go to normally, but I don't know. But
that's a chick flick.
It was a chick flick, and my nieces were young, various ages, maybe 12 through 17 or 11 through 6. I don't know, but
target demographic for chick flicks.
Yeah. I mean, if you go to the right movie on a date or something like that, you maybe kick your relationship to the next step as long as you behave properly. So you go, I can't believe I saw that. It doesn't help you or anything, but.
No.
But I know that.
They said I cried.
Yeah. Yeah, I cried too. It's because I was pinching myself too hard to keep. I started gnawing my own leg off. Anyway, sorry. One that you have to see, I think, is When Harry Met Sally. That was maybe that's past now, but there was a time when that was a sort of thing you had to go see it on a date, or you had to rent the movie later on. And it's about male and female relationships. But then I thought about it later on, because I've watched it.
That restaurant orgasm scene from that was a big viral video for a while.
Yeah, it was a big deal for a lot of people.
Rob Reiner's mother saying, "I'll have what she's having."
Yeah. He also put his mother in his movie, and I'll have what she's having. But Yeah. I'd say the chef at the Tuscan Moon is really good, but he's not quite that. He's pretty good though. Anyway. But the thing is,
That's where you play on Friday and Saturday nights.
That's where I play on Friday, Saturday nights. Yeah, the food is great actually. That young fellow.
It's in Kelowna.
In Kelowna, yeah. Andrew, the chef, he knows how to wield the skillet. He knows what he's doing there, and it's great. Some amazing things, like a walleye or something with like a sauce that's made of acorn squash, that orange squash, and it was pureed with a little bit of sour cream and a little bit of honey on it, and then this kind of granola stuff sprinkled on top, so you get this crunch and the fish, and it's great, man. The sauce. Yeah, I'm starting to.
Probably need a reservation to eat there.
I think it'd be a pretty good idea. A little slow, but this is like this one time a year. It was slow last year, like it was going gangbusters, and it kind of slows down. Then the holiday season starts to ramp up after Halloween, and then. But anyway, I've been there for a while. But I guess what I'm saying, but when Harry met Sally, I look at the characters, and I think, well, the guy, Harry, it's a bit of an exaggeration, Yeah. I mean, his promiscuity and everything like that is pretty hard to believe and so forth, and Billy Crystal no less, yeah. But it was a Nora Ephron movie, and Nora Ephron had a lot of great things going for her. But I started to think, because I'm looking at this sort of sexism that, like in Canada, they have this gender war raging. They have this. Somebody's trying to put a men's center in, and then people are dead against it. And some guy was saying just a couple of douchebags and a PlayStation or something. But the thing is that the male suicide rate is like 4 times that of the female, or 5 times that of the female. The college enrollment, they reached male-female parity in 1980, and the males have been losing traction ever since. And a lot of young fellows failed to launch, And so this is something, but there are these huge protests when they have a speaker come to speak, and they quote mine the guy. It's Warren Farrell, I guess. He writes books, sociologist, does research. And somebody quote mined something that he had written in the 70s, or an interview he had. It was from an interview, Playboy magazine interview of him about his stuff, And so they're accusing him of these horrible things, which of course he's not in favor of. Call them all terrible things, and stuff like that. They're protesting and they're shutting it down, pulling the fire alarm, switching off the lights, blocking entrances and stuff like that, so people can't hear this talk, And there are these women out there, and men, calling people terrible names, and they want to go in there,
Free speech as long as you agree with us.
Yeah, you're a rape apologist. You say, why would you want to go hear a rape? Which he's not, of course, but he's. But why would you want, if you weren't one yourself, and you are scum, these people are yelling at these, spitting on these guys and spitting on the police, and up there in Toronto. And so then what happens, though, is when you do that, it's so outrageous and over-the-top behavior. So first thing you want to do is you want to go say, who is this guy that they're protesting? And then you go and you read some of the articles he writes and watch some of the talks he gives and say, he's actually a really nice guy. He was on the National Organization of Women board, in the 70s and stuff like that. And he's a humanist and stuff like that. So why are these feminists, like this? And so then after you start looking at that, you start saying, wait a minute, all this stuff you start to think about, like statistics, fake statistics and stuff that you get. And so you start thinking, maybe, so I was talking to a young fellow about that, and he said that women can't be sexist, and black people can't be racist.
Yeah, that's Spike Lee talked at the University of Iowa and said that black people can't be racist.
Yeah. I've heard this, but I've known people with African ancestry who just laugh at that.
Yeah.
I remember.
Well, it's because you have all the wealth and power.
That's right. I do. Yeah. I do. It's all up to me. It's all my fault, and I'm all the power and wealth. Yeah. Something about humanism is you can step over. There's a picture, though. There's this very elegant African-American woman with really nice clothes, high heels, and very expensive-looking things. They're stepping over an older white street person, leaned up against the wall. And see, if you overgeneralize, But, the thought that if women can't be sexist, does that mean that women aren't as good or something, or because they don't have as much?
No, they don't have the wealth and power. You have all that.
I see. They're like children, right? They can't have an opinion because they're like. I mean, you can't take their opinion seriously because they're like children or something. Is that what they're trying to say? Because it seems like anybody can be a racist and a sexist. I think we're all free to be racist and sexist if we want. Because saying that women can't be sexist is a very sexist thing to say, I think. Don't you think? I mean,
yeah. But then I'm a white guy. I have all the wealth and power.
That's right. You must have all the wealth and power.
I hear a week or two ago when Miley Cyrus went off about some recording industry executive, somebody said, it's really funny when you hear a white girl that was a millionaire when she was 11 talking about being held down by the man.
Yeah. That's right. But what happens if people go out and demonstrate and block, use violence and
keep you from hearing somebody else.
Yeah, keep you from hearing somebody else using violence, intimidation, and so forth like that. Is that you start wanting to wonder what does this guy have to say? What does this person have to say? And then you start looking at the people, like you start looking at the feminists and say, well, wait a minute, you can't, and then you start looking at what they say in a different light, so the men's rights people in Canada, who are, humanists and egalitarians, they say. They're not. There are different levels. There's a MGTOW, men going their own way. These are men who want nothing to do with women. There are the MRAs who have a lot of females among them, and some of the editors and the writers on their forum and on their website are female. Some of their most the biggest YouTube superstar is a woman, and then you have the traditionalists.
No, the biggest YouTube superstar is a cat.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, among the MRAs.
Among the humans.
Among the humans, yeah. Well, she's not the biggest among the humans. She's just the biggest among the men's rights people. And then you have the other one, the traditionalists who want to go back to some sort of, Leave It to Beaver type of fantasy, and usually very religious people. So you have that, and then of course you have all kinds of different feminists from all kinds of different, I mean, it doesn't even mean anything because there's so many different flavors, as they say. So.
But it's hard to find a human of any political bent who has as many hits as Keyboard Cat.
That's right. Well, there's also that. What was it? There was it Henri or whatever, the sad cat or whatever this guy voices over in French and his subtitles.
Cat, yeah.
He quit his job to go full time to. The show's almost over and I haven't played the guitar yet. I don't have to, do I? I mean,
it's your show. You're the producer.
What?
I say it's your show. You're the producer.
I can do what I want, yeah. I'm the music director of Tom's Guitar Show. I guess that makes you cameraman and second banana, like Ed McMahon.
Yeah.
Did you ever think you'd grow up to be a second banana?
The comical sidekick.
Yeah. Isn't what they call it, second banana? That was what I always heard.
That was a vaudeville thing.
What?
I said that was a vaudeville thing.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And the lead man was the top banana.
I see. I'm top banana, and I got a yellow guitar. Well, no, I got no business talking about race or anything because I guess I don't have one or something. But well, I'm mixed race, German Irish. But no, I knew a guy. I used to live in a hotel in San Francisco back in the old days. I took guitar lessons and hung around in a strange place, strange time. But there were people from all over the world there, and a fair number of people. There was this guy that I knew. He's kind of a pal of mine, actually. He was a African American sort of fellow, and he came in. I think he'd had a few drinks, and he walked into the lobby, looked around, and said, "I ain't prejudiced. I hate everybody." And then he got in the elevator, and we all started sitting around thinking, "Huh." But I came.
Yeah, that's one of the early lines in one of the Dirty Harry movies. They go down, run off a list of all the people Dirty Harry hates, which is pretty much everybody.
Yeah, that's good. Should watch another Dirty Harry movie. It's been a while. Well, I know that there's a lot more to prejudice and so forth besides the black and white thing. Of course, there's a lot of other people in the world too, and you find. When I was in high school, they had a big kerfluffle.
Out there in the Northwest, they talk about people driving while Asian.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing.
That's the stereotype, is that they can't drive.
Right. Well, when I was in someone drive just fine. But when I was in junior high, there was a big kerfluffle between a Chinese girl and a couple of black guys. They called her names and made jokes about her shape of her eyes and so forth, and she cried. And it was kind of silly, but. Not for her. But.
Well, just to reinforce the idea of that anybody anywhere can be prejudiced. Most people have the stereotype of Buddhists being very peaceful people in Buddhist cultures and stuff. But actually, there's an issue in Myanmar, aka Burma, where there are some very radical right-wing. Well, I don't know if they're right-wing, but they're pretty militant Buddhists who are. They're doing a lot of damage to the Muslim communities in Burma, which there are some. I mean, they're obviously in a minority there, but so there's Buddhist hostility towards Muslims, So, and again, that breaks the stereotype because everybody thinks of Buddhists as being peaceful, and particularly when they contrast Buddhism with Western, Judeo-Christian, Abrahamic religions, how peaceful and they are. But well, it's not the case in Burma. And of course, obviously, it's not all Buddhists. It's just particular ones. But it's a human condition. It's not whether you're this race or this gender or this religion or whatever. Underneath it all, we're all humans, and these are things that human beings do. So no matter what your condition, these things can raise their ugly heads.
Yeah. Well, there's the Hindus and the Muslims in India and the borderline. There's a Hindu extremists beating up the Muslims. I was reading a thing about there's a white farmer in Africa who left over from the colonies, and he was beaten within an inch of his life, and said, "We are so done with you." They said the guy, people beating him up. They don't mind the Chinese, moving in, because the Chinese are kind of moving in, but they don't want to see the Europeans anymore, so they just beat the guy almost to death. They said, "We are so done with you," and the guy himself was. Not responsible for these things, and he ran a farm which employed a lot of people, and he was basically generous and kind and everything like that. But and he was also stubborn. He wanted to stay, but they beat him up.
Well, you're talking about the demonstrations in Canada. The stereotype is that all Canadians are polite and peaceful.
Yeah. Well, you Google it sometime. The Big Red was this woman who. Very foul mouth, and she was trying to read this list of things that the feminists were working on, so there didn't have to be a men's movement because they were working on it. It's all part of patriarchy. They're fighting patriarchy and all these things. We're doing this and this and this, and people are standing there and say, "Well, I don't believe you," and stuff like that or whatever. And then she says, "Shut up, you!" And says language we can't say in a family show, and her hair is dyed red, so it's Big Red in Toronto. You could just look it up on YouTube. Not very polite at all, and kind of. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. They're duking it out in Canada over gender issues because I think they're more. They've maybe gone a little bit farther in feminist doctrine.
I saw that they tried to put up Pamela Anderson did a PETA billboard.
Mhm.
Well, I'd rather wear nothing than fur. And anyway, the feminists wouldn't allow that
Yeah.
because it objectified Pamela Anderson.
Yeah, well, it's all pretty silly. I don't know. I'm not in charge of the world, but I mean,
No, I thought
obviously-
we already settled that. You have all the wealth and power.
yeah,
You're
I
in
have
charge
all
of
the
the world.
power. Yeah. That's just simple chronic racism, though. I mean, but I mean, the thing is, like anybody, I mean, obviously, human rights are. I mean, women and men should have equal opportunities, and there are places where women have been shut out that they shouldn't be, but there are also places where men are shut out where they shouldn't be. And it's probably a bad idea not to have any male school teachers for elementary school and so forth. I think it's very useful to have. And a lot of kids grow up without any males in their lives at all. If they're single moms and stuff, their fathers are driven out or whatever. Sometimes with good reason, sometimes without. And there are no male teachers, and they don't. Boys and girls should be around, men. And but you hear all this rhetoric say that they want to get the male population down to 10%. So that and there's people like and there's one form.
That's how you breed cattle and chickens.
Catholic chickens? What?
Cattle and chickens.
Oh, cattle and chickens. Yeah, fewer. Yeah.
You castrate all the excess bulls and roosters and sell them off for veal.
Yeah, that's right. And then you keep the ones
Raise cows and steers.
Yeah, I guess. Well, there's a big movement there. All these things. The thing is that there's this rhetoric, and there's somebody had kind of published this forum, the Rad Femme Hub or whatever, and they found out who these people were, and some of them were like prosecutors, like in England, lawyers and so forth. These women, and one was a child care specialist who had terrible things to say about little boys, and then they're advocating underfeeding the boys so they wouldn't grow up as big, so they wouldn't be a threat to the women and stuff like that. So somebody published they outed them, and then this was considered a heinous thing to out them. But then they were saying these were not just like loonies,
Well, they were.
They were, but they were in power.
Yeah.
People in England and Australia and in Canada, and in the U.S. too, I guess. So it's very interesting. I never would have thought of these things, or looking into these things. I would never start these searches and find out if I hadn't seen this bad behavior. As far as I can tell, this guy Warren Farrell, who is a sociologist, who's been at it for many years doing research, seems like a really nice guy and an egalitarian. He's not, The thing about the pay gap between men and women is because men work a lot more hours over their careers than women do. They tend to take harder jobs, and they take jobs more for the money and less for personal fulfillment.
Right.
So men do nasty jobs, and they put in a lot more hours, and they don't they don't get leave to have children and so forth. So that's why men and women doing the same job get the same pay.
Yep.
And it's just the pay gap is not people. You still see people say, well, women get paid 70 cents on the dollar for men. You say, we mean so it means if you have a company, you could hire men for $10 an hour, and you could hire women for $7.
I see that's no longer true. It's not true for women and men under 30. Mostly because there are a lot more female college graduates under 30 than men.
That's right. I don't know. I didn't know that. I try to learn things. Every day is a school day at Tom's Guitar Studio.
So we do get into politics, world events, and our own personality problems.
Right. I'm also run the risk of being called a sexist if I'm trying not to be a sexist. You see, because anyway, it's interesting. Politics, world events. I don't find my own personality problems matter at all in this case, because I'm obviously one. The show's over already. I didn't even get a chance to go.